Welcome to Failing Forward. This show is all about the other side of success. We talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators who aren't afraid to share the mistakes they've made. Because if there's one thing I know for sure, it's this. Every setback is just a setup for something bigger, if you're willing to learn from it. All right, welcome back for another episode of Failing Forward. I'm Tim Petrey, the CEO of HD Growth Partners, with my co-host, Uncle Baby Billy Will Rauber, our CXO at HD Growth Partners. Today, we've got a special guest on the pod, somebody that I've known for many years, have had the pleasure of working with for many years, runs an outstanding business in this community that, quite frankly, not a lot of people truly know the magnitude of what this business does. So hopefully we can pull on that thread a little bit, tell a little bit more of the story of Patriot at Home and Patriot Home Care and all the ancillary businesses. So today we've got Greg Davis, co-founder at Patriot.
Hi there. How are you all doing today? First, thank you for the opportunity to kind of get our message out. Truly appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. And we've worked with you all. I guess I can promote you all a bit. Probably you came in the equation maybe year 5-ish, 4 or 5. Before that, oh boy, standing up a business is difficult. So there's 3 owners, myself, and I'm an RN. I have a business background, but not an accounting background. My brother was a clinician, a physical therapist for years and years and years. Doesn't have a business background. And the third partner has a PhD in organic and biochemistry, not really a business background. So once we integrated HD into the equation, it really lightened the burden of that side of things on us, helped us strategize much better, and let us really unshackle us from that part of the business and focus on recouping money and providing care. Which is really important. And what you'll find today with insurance companies is they're trying to find every way possible not to pay you.
Right.
So we focus a lot of energy on that.
You need to focus on the right
things. Keep the ship afloat, keep the lights on.
Yeah.
So it's been great. So thank you all very much.
Absolutely.
Integral part of our success for sure.
Well, that was my first day on the job. I got to come hang out with you and your brother.
Yes, you did.
And I had
yes, you did.
no idea what I was doing at the time.
There's been times we don't either. So.
You guys were very kind to new guys, so I appreciate that.
Well, a lot of what we get into in this podcast are these stories of, how you built what you ultimately did, and maybe some of the times along the way that you fell on your face while figuring it out.
Yeah,
right?
last Tuesday. Yeah. It's constant, man.
And it's like a lot of people see the success of the business today, and they just assume that kind of happened overnight, and they don't know the decades of pain and the self-discovery and the things that have gone into figuring out yourself before even the business. So let's take a step back, and I want to kind of get everybody to know Greg Davis a little bit more.
Sure.
Obviously, we've had the pleasure of working together all these years, and I've seen you guys build something special that is centered in around culture and doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. And just consistently having a high integrity business that does the right thing for your patients, for your employees, and everything else aside, you guys have always focused on that. And the business has grown to now the 8th largest
home health company in the state of Ohio after 13 years.
In a business that started in the Warren incubator, right?
Yeah. I mean, one little room, much smaller than the room we're in now, actually. So
it's amazing.
It's unbelievable story of growth. So let's go back kind of to the early Greg days. So we're gonna go back to 1989, Girard, Ohio.
Oh boy!
All right, so
you're gonna try to pull the Girard Indian out of me.
That's right. So you said in some of our conversations that you weren't ready for college, right. and that was something that you made that decision at the time. What did not ready look like for you? How did
mediocrity? I would say in a nutshell, mediocre athlete, mediocre student, didn't have any focus. Liked to hang out with my buddies. Wasn't a stranger to partying either. Like many of us at that age. And I come from a military family. All my family members, all the males, generally speaking, go into the military. And I remember vividly speaking with my parents around the time of graduation. And basically, college really wasn't an option because they weren't going to pay for it. And that was before the whole student loan thing was huge and so on and so forth. And it was a kick in the butt that I needed to get myself. I enlisted in the Navy at the time, and it was scary, man. I mean, it was very scary. Sure. You're going from one culture of basically pretty much being coddled and all of that. And I went in the buddy system with a friend, and we left October 4th, 1989, we left. And so I had a summer of love, man, and peace and partying. And it was great. It was great. But then reality hits you in the face pretty quick when you're on a bus, and this bus is heading to Chicago and boot camp. And immediately, it's just like the movie. Somebody starts yelling at you immediately.
Really?
Telling you things that you've never heard before, maybe.
Calling you things maybe you've never been called before.
Yeah. And kidding aside, I guess that, well, I don't guess, I know that I was instrumental in my success, because the military, what it does, and you probably heard this, psychologically it strips you down to nothing and then builds you back up into what they want you to be. And what I was not very impressive. So went through the whole military thing. We were in Desert Shield, Desert Storm. So that was 1990, I think January was when that all kicked off. And I can tell you a surreal moment. What that was it was in the military. I was in the Navy on an aircraft carrier. So we were in Desert Shield, which was the blockade, and then went into Storm. So the Storm came in. You work 12-hour shifts. So I was working 7A to 7P. So I went probably roughly 9 o'clock, and I used to run around the hangar bay, and then, you'd take a shower and maybe watch a movie and then hit the sack. So went to bed and woke up in the morning, and the hangar bay is the area within the central part of the ship where they keep all the planes. Mm-hmm. And roughly speaking, there's like 80, 90 planes. 80% of those planes can be in the hangar bay at any one time, and they were. Mm-hmm. So I went to bed, and all those planes were in the hangar bay. I woke up, in 7, 8 hours. Those planes were gone, and it was filled with missiles and bombs and stuff I couldn't even really recognize what it was. And minutes later, the captain came on and said, "Boys, this is it. Do what you do. You've all been trained," so on and so forth. And I kicked off all of that. Wow. So
yeah,
you talk about an 18-year-old guy from Youngstown, Ohio, that didn't know much of anything, right, to see then, at the time, you're not really realizing this changes the course of human history, this event. And, reflecting back on it, it's quite surreal. At the moment, you have all these emotions. You have fear, anxiety, but then also duty. And you're so young. We were talking about this before we started rolling. You're so young, you don't even understand the consequence of this side or the other. So yeah. It was cool. It was great. I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't necessarily want to do it over, but I wouldn't change that I did it.
Well, just seeing an aircraft carrier alone,
it's amazing.
Being on one of those a couple of weeks ago, had the chance when we were in San Diego. It is different. I spent 4 hours there by myself, and it was the coolest. They had USS Midland. I think it was there in,
Did you say Midway?
Midway? Is it Midway?
Midway is the
yeah.
Probably Midway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that, Will. Like I told my wife this the other day. About every 2-3 years, I have this nightmare that, like, for whatever reason, we are all back, and it's all my old boys. We're all old and fat now, all doing the job.
Those quarters are tight.
Yeah, right.
I tell you that.
And it is not a good thing. It's actually a nightmare. Like, oh my God, how did I get back here? So no, but seriously, it was great. It was an honor to serve. Definitely changed the whole trajectory of my life for sure.
So how many years were you in the Navy?
3.5. I got out. I signed up for 4. Got out 6 months early to start YSU.
Okay.
So, it was something. But
it's like a force level of maturity.
Yeah,
right? It's
exactly.
Like whether it's military, whether it's something traumatic happening to your family, whether it's a responsibility that you have to take on outside of high school, it's like it just forces you to mature quickly. It's like you go from being a kid and having no, worry in the world to, oh shit, you got to survive.
Yeah.
And you figure it out quick, and it trains you to be a different human being.
Yeah, it's funny because we're exploring leadership training with the organization and done a variety of different things. And I'm actually reading Jocko Willink, an ex-Navy SEAL, so has this management leadership training thing, and it's all about ultimate accountability. And I can tell you in the military, that's the way life is. It's not, there's no excuses. There's no whining. It's just do your job, shut up. they say it with the F word typically. You know,
right.
There's an F word before, after, and in the middle of that sentence. But and there's something to that. I think that ingrains in you especially for being an entrepreneur. You must make this happen. It's on you. And if you're standing up a business, that mindset, that mentality is critically important. I know you know that in your line of work, doing what you guys are doing at HD as well.
Ultimate accountability is the best way to describe it. I mean, I've had enough conversations with people about business over the years where when things are going well, it's not necessarily you. When things are going wrong, it's your fault.
It's your fault.
You know, and that's the level of like, hey, you have to just own everything all the way up. I mean, Harold, my original business partner, he used to tell this story. He owned this restaurant that he would lease out to people at the truck stop in North Lima, and he had this woman that came in and took over the restaurant. And she'd come in and she'd complain about how the restaurant wasn't going well. And she'd say, well, that damn manager wasn't doing a good job, and they didn't do this and they didn't do that. And then Harold would say, well, who hired the manager?
Right.
And ladies, I did. Who trained the manager? I did. It's like that is the definition of ultimate accountability.
Absolutely.
I mean, I had the same conversation with my son. He's 9 years old, and he's playing basketball in third grade, right? And like, watching these kids play basketball is just hilarious.
It's a treat, man.
It's just herding cats, right?
Yeah.
And we get to the end of this game and we lose. And my son's all pissed off, and he walks out of there and he's crying and he's upset. And he's blaming the refs and he's blaming the other kids for fouling him. And I said, no, man, you lost the game.
Yeah.
You and your teammates lost the game. The refs didn't lose the game. The other team didn't beat you. You lost. You've just got to sit in it for a little bit and realize that you lost. And now, if you really want to come back and win, what do we need to do differently?
That's right.
You just got to own it, because there's so many people in the world. It's unbelievable to me that have that victim mindset that are just, no, I'm not successful because this person is doing that. I'm not successful because this didn't go well. So, no, it's on you.
Well, see, that's baseline normal. I think, and I think we as in the human condition, that is baseline normal. If things aren't going well, it's your fault or your fault. I think, to be successful, you have to transcend that and own everything, especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a senior leader. Critically important to own each and every detail in your organization, because if you care, the people that work for you will also care, and they'll make the change if you empower them to do so.
And not everybody is able to do that.
Right.
Like physically not capable of taking that kind of pressure.
Sure.
That's where there's plenty of conversations we have with people. It's like, hey, maybe you should just be an employee, because you don't understand how much that burden, how much that weight is going to take on you to actually be able to hold yourself accountable to everything is your fault.
Yeah.
I mean, it will drive you into a ditch. It'll drive you into a lot of bad things if you're not prepared for it.
So we talk about that, and I talk, and my my EVP Jody, we talk about that all the time. That's a 1%er. That's a 1%er that's willing to take that call at 2 a.m. For the issue that happens in your organization, happily, over and over and over. And you're right; it's rare air to find those people.
Yeah. So you talk about in some of your experience, this accelerated education and being human. When you went through the military and it gave you this accelerated education and interpersonal skills that ultimately has kind of really been your guys' secret sauce, I think, at Patriot from an outsider's, pseudo outsider's perspective, is that you've learned how to take care of people. You've learned how to take care of people internally and externally, and have like this different understanding of emotional intelligence. And that to me has been a huge driver of the success of the business. I mean, what about the military ultimately trained you beyond just that ultimate responsibility and self-ownership of that kind of stuff? Was there anything else that you picked up along the way that helped there?
So my wife and I have been on a faith walk for the past 10 years, I would say. I started out my life with really no faith. If you said to me, do you believe in God? I would say, yes, I do. I would say, I know over the past 10, 12 years, my wife and I, we ended up going to a Catholic church, and then kind of rewinding and we raised our kids in Hudson Community Chapel. and, studying the Bible, going to church, going to fellowship groups, things like that have really changed my mindset. And, what I would say with that, Tim, is people, if you're the senior leader in an organization, people will follow you. They will mimic you. They will mirror you. So I think the first thing for an entrepreneur to do is really figure out what you are and what you want to be, and then what that likeness is going to be shined onto your organization. For me, it was faith. Mm-hmm. I anchor myself in Scripture and the Holy Spirit and things like that, and I let that lead me and study that most every morning. And I think that's been really the secret sauce organizationally for us. We have Bible study every Tuesday morning too, which a lot of employees partake in as well. We don't force it on them, obviously, but if they want to join, they join. But I think instinctively, I think that's what's really changed the culture and the cement to kind of hold our culture together. Mm-hmm. So it's been great.
That's certainly a way to kind of allow people to feel seen and supported through whatever it is that they're going through. And that's how you create equity at the end of the day. I mean,
even if you're not a Christian, I think, out of that has spawned, like, we have umpteen different programs to help employees. Like, you as an employee can help another employee donate to this employee because of this is going on in their lives. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think through all of that, it's kind of led us to do those type of things. As Christians, we're commanded to do things like that, and we do. And selfishly, I would say organizationally, it's really changed the culture within Patriot day to day too.
So we haven't quite bridged the gap as to we got from Navy to home healthcare business. So 93. So you come back, you're back from the Navy. You're going to Youngstown State. Go Gwins. Go Gwins. But you don't really have a clear plan in place. I mean, were you doing any nursing-esque work or medical-esque work in the military? I mean, how did you end up in nursing?
So, if you want the real story, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I went to ISU. Yeah. My brother was in physical therapy at Ohio State, so I was thinking maybe clinical. And I saw how many pretty nurses there were.
Smart guy. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
So I decided to go into nursing. But seriously, I decided to go into nursing, the clinical path, job security.
Right away.
I mean, let's be honest. Like, here in Youngstown, it's the job market at that time wasn't all that great. Mm-hmm. It was off the heels of the mills kind of closing down, and things were in turmoil. Youngstown hadn't really had this resurgence that we're going through now. So decided to do that, and did well. And I can tell you, I'm somewhat connected to the program down at YSU. Those ladies are great. It's interesting.
Nancy Wagner loves Greg Davis.
Nancy Wagner was a clinical instructor for me. She's amazing and very kind, very loving. I met my wife there as well, which was a critical part to my success too. You got to have the right person by your side, man. It's so important.
Your most important partner.
You and loves you and will listen to you rant and so on and so forth. But I would say, as far as nursing goes, and Nancy and her team at the time really prepared us. They taught us how to think. And clinical practice, it's kind of aligns with the military, and there's no excuse environment there. You're dealing with people's health and wellness and lives. Yeah. So that kind of aligned really well with my mindset from the military. But got a lot of skills, learned how to think, I would say was the most important thing I learned as it relates to entrepreneurship. And from that point, my father he told me to always get into sales and marketing because he was in it. He said, you'll make the most amount of money with the least amount of effort. That was my dad.
Smart dude.
Which is true. Yeah. Which is actually true. Yeah. So, of course, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And moved to Atlanta and started working for a long-term care organization or nonprofit, 3 in the metro Atlanta area. Great organization, amazing people. And what I can say, now that we're going through this, I learned how to manage, like, it was a very family-centric organization because it was a nonprofit. And I would say I probably gleaned a lot of, like, the idea to really keep the employees close and have really attentive to families and their needs and so on and so forth. Learned a lot of that there, actually. Yep. Great people there. Amazing opportunity for me. Did that 6 years. Knew that wasn't the path I wanted to take my entire life. So my wife and I had kids, moved back to Y-Town, or Northeast Ohio. We actually landed in Hudson. I actually did take my old man's advice. Eventually got into pharmaceutical sales. And that taught me how to really communicate in front of a lot of people at one time, which is important. And got into medical device sales as well. So kind of a higher tier in sales and in medical sales. And then right around that time, it was really weird. And I'll tell you a failure story. So I guess we're failing forward here. And this aligns perfectly with that. So I was working for a company, a big medical device company. It was bought by a private equity. It was the Teachers Union retirement fund in Canada. So they had billions of dollars. You can imagine the kind of cash they had. Anyway, they came in and bought my company, which was privately owned, for $7 billion. Okay. And at the time, I was a regional. I was number 2 in the country out of 12 regionals. Okay. So they bring this CEO in. This guy, we were talking before we started rolling about people that are different and smarter and so on and so forth. They bring this guy in. And he walks in and he's like the guy you just can't stop looking at. Like, look at this guy, man. He's good looking. He's super smart. He's charismatic. He's running this $7 billion a year company. So to meet a guy like that, it's like, whoa, you're just not like me, man. You're so much better than me. Anyway, so he brings us, he does a big corporate meeting. There's like thousands of us in a room. And then he brings us 12 into a room about this size. And he says, you guys are my guns. You guys are great. We're going to keep all of you. Don't worry, so on and so forth. So I'm like, oh, I'm number 2, man. I'm fine.
Right.
I'm like, and I was tracking to be number 1. So wouldn't you know, 3-4 months later, after all the dust settled, there was an HR call, big corporate HR call. And if you've ever been one of these things, not fun. And everyone was like, that the writing was on the wall that some of us were going to go.
Yeah.
So it was weird because, and I think everyone's call, corporate-wide, was at 9:30, and my call was at 8:30. I'm like, ooh, that doesn't sound good, man. It does not sound good.
The gut's just going.
Yeah, man, churning, man, like totally churning. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? Is this really good? Is this really bad? It's probably bad. Anyway, so get on the call, and it is the call. Like, they chopped the sales force, and it was a spreadsheet. It was, obviously they didn't care that you were number 2, which I learned a lesson about corporate America there. But anyway, so right around that time was when Patriot was starting. Like, we had a whole process. It took us a year and a half to kind of, it's a whole process. You have to work with the federal government, the state government, and so on and so forth. So right around that time is when we started to get traction with Patriot. And they gave me a bunch of money to leave.
Oh.
So that tided me over to really focus on my small business and get it up and going. But Sean still, my brother, tells a story all the time. It's right around Christmas time. And I go, I need to meet with you. And we were sitting in his office. And he was still doing visits. He was still working for another company. So he was good financially. And I go, hey, man, I'm going to need some money, man, because I'm running on fumes. Yeah. So that's right around the time everything kind of started clicking, and, money was coming in, and it started to work.
Yep.
Yeah. And still to this day, see my brother, I'm kind of a cheerleader, and he's kind of the poo-poo guy, and that's important because we do have a very good yin and yang,
really good partnership,
which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, I've really started to respect that partnership and respect and hear him. And, sometimes he has to pull me back a little bit. Sometimes I got to pull him along, but it's been great. But that's kind of the in-between the YSU thing and Patriot.
Well, I mean, it's funny because we like to do these origin stories because it helps understand who people are, why they are the way that they are, and ultimately why you've been able to build the business that has been so successful to date. Is now you see these really interesting, very clear traits of who you are, right? You went through the military and it made you accountable to yourself and it showed you complete and absolute ownership. And then you went back to school and learned a new skill and learned how to communicate in the medical community. Right. You went and worked at a home healthcare business down in Hotlanta for a little while, and you understood some of the, day-to-day of how to run that. And then just as importantly as any of those things, then you learned how to sell.
Right.
Because, selling is not just about selling to your potential customers. You got to sell to people. Like, at some point in time when you got to stand this thing up, you got to get people to join and stay. because at the
gosh, yeah.
beginning, you're not a real business, right? I mean, I used to say that for years in our business, is that it was me and 3 or 4 other people, and it's like, this isn't a real business, man. This is just
doing it.
Hey, we got a logo on the website, man. We're real, right?
But yeah. So, it's interesting to see how all of these things form now this, megatron of all these special entrepreneurial skills that are needed. And it makes a lot of sense to understand why you guys have been able to do what you did.
I'll tell you a quick story, man. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you got to hear it. So 2 things. I remember, and I won't name this account, but it's a local place. It's a brand that you all know. And I'm going in there, and we're brand new. And we have, like, my wife is the nurse. I am a nurse. My brother's a physical therapist. So we don't even have staff, man.
Right.
And my brother's son-in-law is my marketer, and I can't pay him. He's like working at Olive Garden, like literally, man, like working at Olive Garden. He wants to get into sales. I said, I'll teach you how to do sales, but I can't pay you.
Right.
So we ended up paying him. He's one of our VPs, actually. He's doing great now. But anyway, I remember sitting across from these people in this account and doing my song and dance. And fortunately, to your point, I could sell. I was trained to sell. I had a brand. I had a brochure and all this stuff. And I did my song and dance. And she said, oh, yeah, we'll send you a patient. I got one for you right here. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't know me from Adam. This is so weird, And I guess that's the point, and we became a business.
Yeah.
And your first employee too, same thing. I'm thinking like I remember, and I don't know if you know Susie Glosser. She was our first nurse, and same thing. We did an interview, and then I called her and I said, "Hey, I'm just wondering, if you want the job, blah blah blah." And she goes, "Well, I've talked to my husband, and blah blah blah." And she said yes, and I'm like, we were in the Warren Business Exchange, man. Like, I can't believe you're saying yes to this. So it's all those little things that just kind of were the story of who we are. You talk about our origin story. It is surreal at that moment to like figure, I guess we're finally legitimate. We have an employee, we have referrals, and
it
was something.
And it's still, it takes years to really feel comfortable with that. Right. So, you're at that point, you're in the Warren incubator, you've got your little office, you've got now Susie, you've got a real employee, you've got some branding, you got some marketing material. How long was it until you felt like this was a real thing?
Okay.
That you could feed your family, that you knew that, this had enough momentum that it was going to be a long-term thing.
About a year in, I would say, and this can sound super corny, and I know people talk about this, but I saw it in my head. I knew this was going to work. And again, not to be too corny, but I saw the success. I saw what it looked like. I felt it. I never had doubt in my mind this would work. I really didn't. Now, my brother, on the other hand, it's still a joke to he and I today. He used to say, I'm not sure it's going to work. I'm like, it's going to work, man. Yep. Come on, it's going to work. So about every 6 months I said, so you think it's going to work now? Yeah. We have 530 employees. Like, you think it's going to work?
That's so awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing though.
Did you have any fears? Working with your sibling, it sounds like your wife was in there too for a while.
Yeah, not really. I'm more outgoing and he's more laid back. So we have a good yin and yang there. So I was never really too concerned about that. What I was more concerned about is I was the owner and my wife was the nursing director for 3 years. And one thing I learned, if your wife is working for you, there's really no way to explain this thing that she did was wrong and we want to do it this other way. Because I literally went on the internet, read books, tried to figure out every possible way.
Conversation.
There's no right way to do that. Nope. And I love her, and she's awesome, and we get along great. But in that particular instance, I don't know how spouses do it, because you see a lot of people that work together very closely at work, and they're also married. It's
when you call your brother in, can you help?
Yeah. Well, no, that's just so funny because at various times, including now, there's family members working for the company, and if it's his line, I'm in charge, and vice versa.
Yep. You have to.
You have to.
You got to create that separation.
100%.
We've had family in our business, and there's been times where, there was something that needed to be said, and I'd go to Will, and I'm like, buddy, you're gonna have to go say this because I can't, or Kenny on our team.
Yeah,
or
and that's
whatever,
how it goes.
Yeah, 100%.
Take them for the team.
So, how did you guys decide? So you're selling medical supplies, and you guys are doing pretty well, and obviously you've got some uncertainty because you've got corporate America now involved. You're not really sure where things are going. Where was the deciding factor for you and Sean when it was time to decide to do this? I mean, you had said that this was already kind of brewing behind the scenes. What made you say, hey, we need to take the leap and actually do the darn thing?
So I had a healthcare administration background, was working in sales, and I had a friend who lived down in Columbus and had started an agency like I have now.
Okay.
And he was kind of after me and my brother. My brother, again, is a physical therapist, had experience in the industry, to start kind of a branch of his thing up here. And you could do it one of two ways. You can either organically start one, and there's a whole certification process, and it's not easy. It literally took us a year and a half and a lot of money to do. Or you can acquire an agency that has the billing number already, an existing thing. So this guy down in Columbus, my friend, said, hey, I'll buy a number up here and you guys could run it and I'll kind of teach you how to do it, so on and so forth. So I went through the due diligence of all of it, and at the end, it didn't work out. Let's just say it didn't work out. And he pulls out, and it was tough because, in my mind, I had made that leap to say, we're going to do this. And then at the end, it didn't work out. So we all took about a 6-month break just to, let's relax a minute. And then I remember this like it was yesterday. I was sitting in my mom's kitchen, and there's a form called an 855 form that you have to fill out. It's to communicate to Medicare that your intention to start one of these businesses. And it was what are the three owners now. And I had conversations with some other guys who were going to be involved in the first thing, and they opted out. And I said to my brother and the other business partner, I said, hey, I'm doing this with or without you. I got the form right here. Yep. You want to do this or not? And they said yes, and we filled the form out right then and sent it in. So at that point, it was when it was kind of real that we were going to go ahead and do this. So I always had the itch. Kind of your point, with the military thing, with the sales and marketing thing, with the healthcare administration thing, kind of had the recipe to understand kind of how to do this. Then my brother had the clinical piece. He worked as a rank and file physical therapist at a local home health company, so he had that insight. Okay, all the rules and regulations and documentation. That's stuff I didn't really have. Yep. My wife actually was working at home health for an organization in the Akron area as well. So she was a home health nurse. So we kind of had a recipe already for something. And I could see we had all the elements kind of together. Just a matter of beating your head against the wall for a couple of years and standing it up. And that was a whole other thing. Just the whole process of that. Yeah. Was something.
Well, and it's one of those things that as growth comes in like different waves, you get to certain points and then you realize you need something different that you didn't have at the beginning. And you guys had your location, and then I remember a conversation you guys had called me up and said, hey, we need a new spot. We need to move. We need to find a real office. We need to find our forever home. As it turned out, it was a building that we had looked at acquiring, and Greg's like, I need a building right off the freeway. We want to get out of local taxes, and it needs to be
all the important
within
things.
X number of minutes to where we all live. And I was like, well, there's this building that I think would be, cool. I looked at it. We didn't ultimately end up buying it. They bought it like right away. When it looked,
we knew immediately that was it, man.
That was it. So the building then became kind of like the next stage of growth at that point, and then Akron happens, and you guys have added different ancillary services along the way, and some have worked and some have not, and you've learned a lot through that process. Sure. Is there anything at this stage in the game that you can look back on and say, I wish I would have done this differently from the beginning of Patriot to where you're at today?
Yeah, I would say kind of, and you hit on one of the things, it's diluting ourselves. So we're really good at home and community-based services. We've learned how to do that, meaning like taking a nurse or a therapist or a social worker, put them in your home and getting you back to wellness. We're good at that. Now we're good at the hospice thing, ushering you through. I'm a Christian. I believe there's an afterlife, getting you to that afterlife with dignity and not a lot of pain, and helping your family members walk that walk too. It's hard. That was good. It was profitable. It was a great service to community. But it ultimately, we were spending so much time looking over here at this thing. It wasn't anywhere near as this other thing. I'm like, what are we doing? However, I will say we were blessed in Trumbull Memorial, which I don't think they're kind of a thing or not a thing. I'm not sure exactly where that's at.
It's a little confusing.
Yeah.
I hope it's a thing because, we love Trumbull Memorial and Hillside and that whole group.
And we
all
need
the people
that
that
in
were,
our
and
community.
we need it in the
hope
community.
That gets figured out.
Yeah, we certainly do. But they came to us in the middle of the whole COVID thing, and we stood up. And I don't know, I think you were kind of in the know of this. We did a Regeneron clinic where those monoclonal antibodies. So we got to help so many people, man, because they didn't have the bandwidth to do it because they were dealing with the acute care thing. So they came to us, which I felt really honored they came to us to do that for them. And we saw hundreds of patients. And of those hundreds of patients, as far as we knew, nobody went back to the hospital. So we helped so many people, man, and saved a lot of people too. So that was amazing. So I'm not saying it was all for naught because that kind of led us in a direction to do that thing. And to your point, we've done some other business ventures that kind of took us off. We had a visiting physician practice for a time. And at the time it worked and it was good and it served its purpose. But again, it got to the point where we're looking over at this little thing and not looking at this giant thing over here.
Yeah, right.
So I would say don't dilute it. Find what you're really good at. It's almost like when you go to a diner, there's 80 things on the menu, right?
Yeah.
But if you go to fine dining, how many things are on the menu?
Right.
Like 8? Because they can do those 8 things really, really well every time. And I think that's good advice for a entrepreneur too. Don't do too many things, man. You just can't unless you got a really solid team and you're a big corporate thing, which we're not.
And it takes time to build that team. So at the beginning, and I tell people be Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A sells chicken and it's good chicken. And, they also have excellent customer service and plenty of my pleasures and all that other stuff too. But
amazing.
It's one really zoned in thing. And in the world that we live in today, you can't compete with everything.
Right.
Amazon will destroy you on convenience. The big box stores and the big, larger institutions or medical institutions or this, that, or the other are always going to beat you on those kinds of things. You can't win at scale, but you can win at service. You can win at being 100%. A human. You can win at doing having integrity and doing the things that you say you're going to do. So that's very valuable and validated feedback for those that are kind of going through it.
You got to know what your mission is and do it really well, and don't get pulled in a million different directions. And unfortunately, that's my nature. I'm a little, I guess, what they would call ADD now.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and
Same.
curse. Yeah. It's a blessing and curse, for sure.
For the accountant that's doing a podcast, by the way.
But that's why, you go back to your brother and people that will ground you in the place where you need to be. We do that for each other as an organization. There's other people, that do that for us too.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that as an opportunity, especially when you can identify, hey, sometimes I get a little over here when I need to be right here.
Well, it makes sense, Greg. If you talk about that fact that you were taught at an early age ultimate responsibility, part of that ultimate responsibility is acknowledging what you are good at and what you're not good at. And as an entrepreneur, the most important thing is to be able to look in the mirror and say, I am not good at that. I'm okay with acknowledging that. And I'm going to go surround myself with great people that do those things so that I don't screw it up.
Yeah, and it takes some stones too.
It's
admit
tough.
That. Look in the mirror and say, I'm really not good at that thing.
Well, especially I know that we share this. We're competitive people. We want to win. We want to do the best. And we want to win in the right way. But you've got to be able to take a step back and acknowledge the things that you just suck at. And
that's personal too. It's organizationally for sure, but it's personal too. We kind of talked about these plateaus you described, and I could not agree more with you because you've been on those plateaus with us and seen us on them. We're at one now. We're restructuring and looking at how we're structured. How do we take it to the next 5 or 10 years?
Yep.
How do we take 3 locations and make them 5 or 6 or 10 locations? How do we take our thing all over Ohio and beyond, those sorts of things. So,
do you feel? I remember there was a moment when, after we had built our building, and we had this nice office space to go to, and people were coming in, and we really had some real traction. At that point, like, that was the first moment where I felt like our business was a real thing. Like, we had a real facility. We had people that were actively seeking us out to come and work there. But I remember one day pulling into the parking lot and seeing all the cars and just saying, holy shit, I've got all these people that are depending upon me to pay their mortgage,
scary,
to pay their
right?
car payments,
It's very
to
scary
do like,
when you have that moment of clarity, like, oh boy.
I mean, you mentioned
I
today,
can't
you
mess
guys
up.
have 500 some employees,
Yeah.
and you're impacting, thousands of patient lives over the course of the year. Was there a moment in the journey where you walked in and you realized, like, hey, there is a responsibility on my shoulders? To your point about reimagining what Patriot looks like now for the next generation and in the next 5 to 10 years, you go from starting it to surviving it to scaling it to now you're thinking about legacy, and you're thinking about what happens next, what happens maybe after Sean and Greg, and what happens with our next generation of leaders. What's that responsibility feel like, and how does that hit you one day?
So it hits me every year in December, like right in the head. So we do our annual Christmas party here in the northeast part of the state. And this year we had it at a local brewery in Youngstown, and it's a ginormous venue.
Yeah.
And
Is
this-
this Penguin City?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
ginormous venue is full with my people.
Yeah.
And, it's unfortunate in one hand because there was a time when I hired every person. If Will came to me, I'd be the guy to interview you, Will, and give you a job. I don't know half of the people in that room anymore. And it's different. We're not in an office building. I can't go and talk to all these people. We're decentralized. Everyone goes to homes and things. So it's harder for us to know everybody. But it's surreal when you see this ginormous room full of people knowing that they all work for our company. And kind of to your point, the next thought process for me is we're responsible for mortgages and little kids and shoes on their feet and dance classes and school. And it's a huge responsibility that we take as a huge responsibility. And when and each time that happens, we do a talk, the owners do a talk, and I tell them, and I lead off with it, is I want you to know that every year, every day, we're thinking about making sure we are here in 5, 10, 15, 20 years and beyond. And we're trying to make decisions that'll make sure we all have a job in that timeline. So it's a huge responsibility that we take as a huge responsibility.
Well, and I mean, it also makes sense to hear your backstory about, when the company you work for got acquired and things got changed, and that was outside of your control. You were doing about as good as you can do if you're the number 2 guy out of, all of the regional people across the country, and you still got shown the door. Now you have control to make sure that doesn't happen to other people. That's a gift and a tremendous responsibility.
It's servant leadership. I mean, we talk about that all the time. It's, as an entrepreneur, you have to figure, why am I here? What am I trying to do? And our mission's clear. I mean, we literally have people that are holding people's hands when they die. That's a huge responsibility, and again, it's one that we take very seriously. And getting little kind, sweet, loving people back to wellness after they fell and slipped on the ice, getting them back to wellness is something we take very, very seriously. We have fun, but on the same token, we take our jobs very seriously.
Yeah.
We can't mess up.
You have to, right? Yeah.
That is something that, like, for a lot of businesses, it's not easy to find the purpose in what you're doing on a regular basis. I mean, for us, we're doing accounting work, we're doing taxes, and for many years, I was directly interacting with every single one of our clients, and I was seeing the impact of the work we were doing, right? And so it was easy for me to be able to explain that to others and say, hey, we're helping people with their finances. We're helping people find their financial independence. We're helping people accomplish their dreams, but it's kind of you got to figure it out to connect the dots, right? In your world, at least, there's a direct connection.
Yeah.
Someone comes to you in poor health and you usher them back to good health, or someone comes to you in poor health and you usher them to something else. And so that's something that I can see in your business, that every single person takes that very, very seriously, or else you guys wouldn't be in the position that you're in. I mean, I know that you have a star rating that you guys are very proud of, and maybe one of the only in the country that has both. Is that correct?
Yeah, we were one of the only organizations in Ohio that were dual 5 stars. So that's a Medicare thing. They kind of rate and rank you
But that's
on your colleagues.
If you're not showing up every single day with the right mentality, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because that's something that if you get one poor experience along the way, that can get erased relatively quickly.
Yeah, those are empirical things, generally speaking. The thing that really gets me is, again, with the hospice thing, and we are newer at the hospice thing. We're doing it 3 or 4 years, but it is such an intimate environment. You're at people's emotional weakness. You know, you see them at their worst, and their best. And letters that we get from those interactions are like some of the most fulfilling things you can read as a clinical person or a business owner. That's to see the impact that you made in a family's life and continue to, because we have a lot of bereavement things after the fact. And it's not always somebody who's 85 years old, and I don't want to get into details, but there's people that are way younger and have a lot of people depending upon them. So to be able to impact those people and make that burden a little lighter is quite an honor.
You have to be built for that, for sure. I
Well,
would
those
just go
people
home and
are
cry every day.
amazing people, man.
Yeah.
Amazing people that do that every day.
Well,
a different breed too.
Yeah.
They're quite something.
That's not something you get a second chance at.
No,
Like you have one opportunity to
so
do this
funny.
correctly.
We say that all the time. There's no second chances at our hospice
Right.
division.
Yeah.
Got to get it right every time. And it's got to be not right, but it's got to be perfect every time.
Right.
So
That's
lot to live
that's a
up to.
difficult environment
Yeah,
to work
it
in
is,
every
for
single
sure.
day. And most businesses aren't that way. I mean, most businesses are, hey, if somebody comes in and orders a steak at a restaurant, the steak isn't right, you take the steak back, you throw it in the trash, you bring them a new steak, right? In this scenario, that's not the case. Even with a tax return, you do a tax return and for some reason it gets screwed up, you fix it, you amend it, you make it right, whatever. There are few businesses, and it seems to be primarily healthcare in general, right? Is that you get one shot,
Right.
and you're paid proportionally to the difficulty of the problem that you solve.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah, I agree.
I talk about that all the time at the office. I'm like, guys, it's okay. No one's gonna die over this. We will figure it out as a team. We'll get to the bottom of it, and we'll show up tomorrow, all healthy. And there's nothing at risk like this.
Right.
Like, take a step back.
Right.
You don't have that in your world a lot of times.
No, that's why the hiring process is so very important. You have to have people that care, the people that have that. We talked about the idea, ultimate accountability. They have to have that. And I can tell you, like in the beginning, and you might face this too, you hire people and maybe you don't make the best hires. Maybe you don't know how to hire people. Maybe your interview skills aren't great. You figure that part out and you hire your first group of good people and you treat them well, and all the bad people leave, and then you hire other people because these people, the good people, they tell their friends because you treat them good.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you got this big stable of really good people that are just attracting all the good people in the area want to work with your organization and not the others. That's what you got to aim at.
So the lesson is make sure you get rid of the bad people. Hopefully they work themselves out. But I mean, that was always a rule that I was taught early in our business was fire the assholes.
Yeah.
You can't allow them to stick around. I remember, there was a story. We had a guy that was amazing at his job. He was a business development guy. He was a really good accountant. He did all the right things on paper.
That's tough. That's a unicorn.
And that in and of itself is hard because most accountants are accountants. You know what I mean? And but he had this thing where he would talk to our receptionists like they were a piece of trash.
Oh boy.
And
Tells you a lot about somebody.
and I
pretty
warned
fast.
him. I warned him
character.
once.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, this is not how we roll. Like, I started as a receptionist here. We're going to treat everybody the same, receptionist all the way to the top. Next week, same thing. Brought him in the office. See you later.
Yeah.
Got to go. Because, like, if, to your point, you got to treat those people really good. one way to treat those people really good is to protect them and make sure that they're not surrounded and infected by bad people.
Oh, for sure. So we say this. It's interesting because the times where I was hiring everybody, I used to tell them all one thing. I'd tell them, and I would ask them a bunch of questions, obviously, but tell me about your character. And that's a really strange question that you get, that you have to really think about.
Yep.
And you get a lot of different answers, And generally, you can glean from the answer to their questions kind of where they're at with character. But I tell them, and I still tell people in interviews, we're going to hire you based on character. If you're a clinical person, I can teach you how to do any skill.
Right.
If you're an admin person, I can teach you how to do any admin thing. I can't teach a good character. That's the most important thing culturally. And if you ask about one of the differences, I feel like, and I'm biased, that's different between us and most everyone else, is we do hire on character. And I speculate this is the same with HD. If you hire a bad egg, they stick out immediately. And then your people are pointing at that person like, hey, he ain't like us. And then it gets to you, and you guys do what you got to do.
It is remarkable. Once you get that core group of people, it does kind of take care of itself to some degree.
It does.
It at least shines a light on it and says, hey, you better go take care of this or else you're going to have problems. And you see it very clearly. I mean, you got to be.
And to your point, it's really important not to let it get too far down the road. If it's not a good fit, make the change then. Do it quickly. Don't subject to yourself or them or your people to a bad situation.
Hire slow and fire fast. That's the
For
mentality. You have to do the right thing for your business. It's not personal. It's you want to be around for 15
sometimes
or 20
it's just
more
not a good
years.
cultural fit.
Exactly.
You'd be really good down here at this firm, but our firm's different. And listen, I say this all the time. You can feel, whether you go into someone's home, whether you go into someone's business, you immediately feel the energy, man. You know what I'm talking about. And when I go to HD, I feel your energy, and you got good energy there. And you can't.
People don't understand how important that is to protect that. I mean, and it starts to compound over a period of time too. Is that if you're not paying attention, if you take your eye off the ball there, and you're thinking in the short term, like, oh, well, this person will make me more money, or this decision will be a money-driven decision, the wheels are off at that point in time. If you're not thinking culture, and having the right group of people, right people in the right seats, doing the right jobs, it's going to fall apart eventually. And then all of that short-term win that you gain just gets eviscerated in a short period of time.
It's very easy, and we have been seduced by hire this person and all this business will come.
Yeah.
You're going to increase your bottom line by X if you hire this person. And maybe you know or don't know at the time that person's not a great fit.
Right.
For so many reasons. You can only look away for so long, and we've learned that it's not worth it, to your point. If you're going to, I would rather increase my bottom line the right way and provide a really good product. Time and time again, like Chick-fil-A, than go for the easy win. There is no easy wins, man. That's not the way of the world. The universal world is not set up that way, man. It's a grind of doing the right thing over and over and over and not being deterred. Don't get off that path.
Unfortunately, that's the clip on YouTube that nobody watches, right? Is the real truth, is that it's a grind. You got to hit singles every single day.
It's not
as
fun
opposed to
all the time. It's not sexy.
Pill.
It's not easy.
Nope.
It is hard.
Yep.
It is very hard. And generally speaking, the easy path is generally the wrong path.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but it's always the hard path that's the right path.
I say it all the time. It's hard because it's worth it. We want to do it. We want to get to that next step. It's hard now because it's going to be easy down the line. I mean, it's going to get a little bit easier every year. But it's still going to be hard, right?
And I think, and you may face this too sometimes. I had this conversation with a youth Bible study group the other day. Young dudes starting their lives out. It's really easy to do the wrong thing. It's really hard to do the right thing time and time again. And there's no shortcuts in life. There just aren't, man.
Well, and speaking of doing the right thing, one of the things that, as you guys have grown, you've done the right thing with your team members, you've done the right thing with your patients, and in a couple of years ago, you guys started Patriot Cares.
Yeah.
And it's been this initiative that is now compounded into something that's getting a lot of traction.
It is.
And it's something I'm really proud of to see that you guys have done. We've participated in it, whether it's golf outings or other
You guys have been
fundraisers,
great,
this, that,
man,
or the other.
for
But
sure.
what was the thought process behind this? Now you're seeing you've got all these people, and we could potentially put some really good out into the world. How did the idea of Patriot Cares get started? What does it do? How can people learn more about it?
So that's where the marrying a really good person comes into play, okay? Because I got my nose down over here doing this thing, Patriot at Home, I'm doing that thing. And my wife was really instrumental in helping us stand it up, clinically. She ran our team and did all of that. There was a time where I learned maybe it wasn't that great to have her working for the company every day. So we decided to part ways lovingly. And so she took a little bit of time off and then was always talking to me and I agreed too, that we needed to do something for the community. We had been blessed by so many different ways. Let's find a way to give back. So this is something that she's always kept in my mind. We got to do this. We got to do this. We finally had the financial wherewithal, the infrastructure, the support, the connections in the community to do something like this. So it's been around for 4 or 5 years now. I think it's 4 or 5 years, and started with a simple mission, providing things that the health insurance is great, Medicare is great. There's so many gaps on things it doesn't provide that are key and critical to getting somebody back to wellness. So our mission was pretty simple, is to find those nooks and crannies and provide those things. If we were taking care of you and you didn't have financial means to get something that you needed to get back to wellness, we filled that vacuum and did it. You guys have been great. You helped us so many different ways from just starting the thing, and helped us through financial partnerships too, which we're very grateful for as well. But it's been something, man. And again, it's kind of like, and the next phase of this over the past year or two is we do this hospice Make-A-Wish thing too. And it's crazy because this was on social media, so I can tell you about this one. There was a guy who was in the last months of his life, and he just wanted to go to Gander Mountain, man. He was a big fisherman and a hunter,
Yep.
Yeah.
He knew he didn't have much time left. He wanted to go to Gander Mountain, so our team reached out to Gander Mountain. They were amazing. Gave him a gift card, gave him a tour of the entire facility. The manager came out. It was a big to-do.
Yep.
They took him back, and if you've ever been to Gander Mountain, they have an area where you can shoot a bow. They got him a bow out, and he was shooting the bow. It was great, man.
That's cool.
It is so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about. There's another example. There was they were siblings, and one of the siblings was in Canton at a nursing facility, and this other sibling was in the Youngstown area and was in the last months of life, and they hadn't seen each other in a while. So we arranged transportation and got the Youngstown person to the Canton person, and we supplied a nice dinner for them just to shoot the breeze, man, and say goodbye. Tell me that's not cool.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are going to have these opportunities along the way to see these things and to see these gaps, and I can't imagine how difficult that would be to be there on the sidelines, seeing the need and not do something all the time, especially knowing you and your brother as well as I do. If you guys saw something like that, that would have to be just heart-wrenching to see that and not be able to continue to do something. So now you've got a mechanism in place where you can help, and then your people are being a part of that too, and seeing that
They love it,
they're
man.
able to contribute and see some of those gaps. And if they walk into one of those houses and see that, they can come back to you guys and make a difference. And that's got to be
It's an outlet for them too, because generally speaking, these clinical people got big hearts, man.
yeah.
That's why they're doing what
Right.
they're doing. So to have an outlet for them to fulfill these needs, they're writing out this paperwork all the time to get people what they need. So my wife's on the board there and just loves every second of it.
So are most
really
of the
cool.
opportunities inside are kind of self-identified within the organization via your nurses or hospital contacts or people that say, hey, we see this need,
Yeah, it's been really cool. And we've had some partnerships with other local healthcare organizations to do some really cool programs too. It's been quite something, and it's one of those things like. And as an entrepreneur, you know this feeling, like you kind of see starting something, and then you see it kind of get legs, and then you see it start running, man, and it's like, oh, that thing's gonna run even faster here in a second. So,
it's one thing to be able to see the employees' lives that you're changing, and to see the patients' lives that you're changing, but then to see the compound effect of then those employees going out and impacting and changing other people's lives. It's just exponential.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's really quite something to be a part of it. I tell them all the time, thank you for letting me be a part of this, man.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
So
I don't want to get too gooey. You're going to make me misty here. But.
So the next thing for Patriot is continuing its kind of march across the state of Ohio and trying to continue to own the state of Ohio. I mean, we have the demographic, we have the need, we have the older generation that is aging at home and needs the support to age at home or to be able to get back to health, even if they're not necessarily aging. What do you think you need to continue to do to continue this march through the state of Ohio?
Yeah, so and again, there's been 4 or 5 plateaus organizationally. You get up to this amount of employees and this census within your organization, you have this infrastructure, and you start to feel pain, at a certain level that you need to change things. You need a different infrastructure. You need to grow your infrastructure. And that's like rank and file people doing some tasks and things, but it's also leadership too. So more recently, we're still really, really involved. But there was a time when we were doing payroll and doing visits and doing billing and doing like every function. Mm-hmm. And my role has probably changed 12 times. Every year my role changes.
Yep.
I know you know what I'm talking about with that. So we decided to kind of relook at things. How things are going to look in 10 years. Let's get the table set for that. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because there's books. But there's no handbook per se. It's talking to people. I talk to you. I talk to there's a laundry list of people that I talk to about stuff. I read. Mm-hmm. I listen to podcasts. Mm-hmm. I get on YouTube. I mean, there's a million different ways to learn all this stuff now. But currently, we're in the midst of the 3 owners are on the board. Currently, we still go to work every day. We're still intimately involved in X's and O's. But we've empowered, we hired a COO. Okay, we took an existing person. He's our COO now. We took one of our other key VPs and we made her an executive vice president in charge of our other VP level. We've hired more mid-levels. We're training, giving everybody leadership training because a lot of these people, I'm probably in your organization too, they don't get a ton of leadership training. Right. You're like, hey, you're a great accountant. You're a new leader. Yeah. So. Yep. We gotta pour into those people too. So we're creating this new infrastructure to take us into what you talked about. We acquired an agency in Cincinnati about a little over a year ago. We've had other opportunities come over our desks. One recently we declined, but it's more or less just kind of diagnosing where we are, creating a new structure to scale through Ohio. Mm-hmm. I'm a maniac. My wife tells me all the time, "You're insane." But I don't let her deter me, man. I just keep marching forward.
All right, last question before we wrap it up. Looking back from where you were as that 1989 high school graduate Gerard who wasn't ready for college, what would today, if you had the opportunity to go back and talk to yourself, what's the one thing that you would tell yourself about what's coming?
Stay humble. You may face this too. It's when you do certain things in life, say you start a business and it's successful, people look at you differently. Mm-hmm. And that's a blessing and a curse too, and it's why it's really important to your point to have people to chuck you now and again, like, hey, dummy, mm-hmm. Whether it be in your family, it might be your wife,
yep.
But you have to stay humbled and grounded. Remember where you came from. We're real big on that here in Youngstown.
Yep.
Remember where you came from, man. You're some dude from Girard. You're not
right.
this, that, or the other. Don't let yourself become something that you don't feel good about. Because, like we started the interview, you are going to be a reflection on your organization. So, what do you want that reflection to look like? Because they're going to follow you.
Yep. And it's just you at the end.
It's just you, man.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's the end of that ultimate responsibility and ultimate ownership.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this has been long overdue for us to have you on here. I mean,
No, it's been great, man.
Very proud to have known you guys and seen your story and seen that not only the growth of the business, which is it's great and it's exciting to grow a business, but to grow it where you've stayed humble, you've stayed true to yourselves, you've stayed true to your culture. You've got a group of people that love coming to work every day, and you're putting positive stuff out in the community, not only for your team of people that work for you, but all the good that you're then empowering those people to do. Like, we need more people to have businesses like Patriot. We need more people to look at things the same way that you guys do. So honored that you guys are part of this community or part of that story to some degree. And
You are.
Really, really honored to have you with us today. So
Yeah,
thanks,
hey,
man.
thank you, man. And again, like, we really, truly, like, I'm not just saying this because I'm in front of both of you now. We really appreciate you guys too. I think we become more business savvy day by day. I think we're really good at running our thing. Looking at balance sheets, not as good at. So if you're a small business person, you guys have been really critical to help stand up that part of our business and keep and kind of hold it up for us while we do what we do. So you've been critically involved, respected, and important to that whole process. So we truly appreciate you guys.
It's been
so
fun.
Thank you. It really
It's been
has,
fun.
man.
Looking forward to many more
Love it.
years, brother. All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
That
was good.
Thank you so much for listening. This podcast wouldn't be possible without Stonefruit Studios and Bentley Studios. If you'd like to support the podcast, the most impactful thing you can do is subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, and leave a review and/or comment. If you found this episode particularly helpful, we also encourage you to share it with a friend or on social media. Until next time, keep learning, growing, and failing forward.